My family would have lost me. My son would have lost me if I didn't have a second chance and there weren't treatment centers.
Treatment can be life-saving for Mainers struggling with addiction, but as WMTW News 8's Tracy Sable shows us tonight, for thousands of Mainers, finding help can be difficult.
We're turning away 10, 20 more people every single day who are calling for our detox.
Bob Fowler is the executive director for Milestone Foundation, one of the oldest substance use treatment programs in Maine. He says in some cases, not being able to help those people can have dire consequences.
That can be a death sentence for a lot of these individuals.
But Milestones isn't the only rehab facility facing challenges. A number of organizations in southern Maine have scaled back their services, and some have even shut their doors. Last year, Mercy Hospital closed its substance abuse treatment center in Westbrook. At around the same time, a methadone clinic in Sanford also closed. But some say treatment isn't the answer, and we should focus on stopping it before it starts.
Helping patients.
Others, including healthcare providers, believe another drug could be the solution: marijuana.
It can be used to treat the symptoms of opioid withdrawal. It can be used to help people maintain abstinence from opioids by treating addiction areas of the brain and treating the problems that they were using opioids for in the first place.
Dr. Dustin Sulak was one of the healthcare providers leading the charge to get the state to allow medical marijuana to be used to treat opioid addiction. DHHS is currently debating it and has until July 10th to make a final decision.
Our Tracy Sable reporting tonight. Scarborough Police Officer John Gill, who runs the department's Operation Hope, a no questions asked program to put people into treatment, joining us, along with Dr. Joseph Valdez, Medical Director at Outpatient Addiction Services at Mercy Hospital, and Andrew Kouzoulis back with us, who went through treatment himself. Just throwing it out there, is there a best form of treatment? And doesn't seem like there's a lot out there, a lot of options.
One thing that I often encounter among patients and family members and the public in general is when they think of treatment, they're really thinking about detox. And that's just really the first phase of treatment, getting the drug out of one's system. But you know, the evidence shows that that alone will be insufficient in order to really have someone recover from this disease, and that treatment has to be long-term. And there are many approaches to it, and the more comprehensive it is, the better. And there is a role for different, counseling, medications. There are different roads that it can be very helpful for those that need treatments. And
it's expensive. We'll hear a little bit later, but Andrew, you've mentioned about you getting into treatment. You had said thousands of dollars, several times going through detox. Can you talk a little bit about that? This isn't a one-stop shop.
Yeah, if everybody could get it first round through, we would be in a very different place with everything. And unfortunately, insurance companies now are not offering parity. So they're not paying for these services. They're limiting the amount of times people can access services. And without certain resources, I mean, as Bob Fowler said, I mean, it is often, if you don't have cash reserves, if you don't have equity that you can liquidate immediately, it is often a death sentence. It's really unfortunate.
And one of the things we're seeing is the Scarborough Police Department has started, well, almost a year now with Operation Hope, 8 months, I believe, 150 placements so far. And we did a story not too long ago that there weren't enough treatment centers to accept people who need help.
Sure. As of today, 152 people have come in and been placed in long-term treatment facilities, 10 different states, many of them out of state, unfortunately. 2/3 of the people we see coming to ask for help don't possess insurance, health care coverage, or have the financial resources to get the help on their own. Fortunately, a number of treatment facilities around the U.S. have stepped up, offered us free scholarship treatment to the tune of almost $1.8 million to take care of Maine people. These are businesses. These are business models that are doing it really out of their concern for the problem that we're experiencing here in Maine.
So what's the answer? I mean, we see people who need help. How do they get their help, especially when places are closing their doors? How do we get help?
That's a very good question. And
putting you right on the spot there.
Yeah, well, I agree that the way out of this epidemic is through expanding treatment. Certainly there's a role for limiting the supply of opioid drugs that are prescribed unnecessarily and out into the environment, but we also need to recognize that those with the disease really need to get the evidence-based treatment that they need in order to recover, and that's the way through in my mind. And so financial cost of treatment is a problem, and having coverage is a problem, but in many places in Portland and Mercy and other places, we are working on trying to treat our patients in the primary care setting using medications like Suboxone to allow them to get to a place of stabilization so they can recover. So we have to be a little creative in what we do.
And I'm glad you brought up Suboxone, because Suboxone and methadone are treatments that basically, you understand it better than me, but I believe that they help people sort of along their treatment process. They go in, they get their Suboxone comes in strips, methadone they go and get. Do you think that those forms of treatment sort of have a stigma tied to it?
I certainly do, and even among long-term patients that are on them and doing very well and are productive members of society, they often express to me that they feel guilty that they're on the medication, and I wish that wasn't the case, because there are other diseases, people with high blood pressure or diabetes, and if they had made certain lifestyle changes, they could get off, but sometimes you need medication to help, and the Suboxone and methadone are evidence-based medicines that have allowed people to get the stability in their life, to do the work and counseling and other groups they need to get their life back. But there is other 12-step fellowship programs. There are abstinence-based models. It really has to be individualized, the treatment plan to the patient.
And it clearly shows that there's treatment for a medical disorder, which is certainly something we'll continue to talk about tonight. Gentlemen, thank you. Coming up, uniting to fight Maine's heroin epidemic.
We intend to take an all-hands-on-deck approach at every level of government, every level of law enforcement, every level of treatment, every level, every community.
From what's happening out on the roads to the classroom, we will talk to all the people involved in all levels of the fight against opioid addiction right here in Maine. That's ahead in just 2 minutes.